If waking up to pee is stealing your sleep, your body isn't just aging. It's responding to signals you can change tonight. Frequent nighttime urination is often driven by fluid timing, hormone shifts, and evening habits that quietly overload the bladder. In this video, you'll learn simple, science-backed steps to calm nighttime urges before bed and wake up feeling rested again. Nighttime urination is often brushed off as an unavoidable part of getting older. Many people are told that once you reach a certain age, waking up to use the bathroom is simply normal. But from the health detective perspective, that explanation is incomplete and misleading. The body does not suddenly lose the ability to regulate urine production just because years have passed. What changes is how certain systems communicate with each other, especially at night. Under healthy conditions, your body follows a predictable rhythm while you sleep. The kidneys slow down urine production, the bladder relaxes and stretches slightly. The brain reduces sensitivity to minor internal signals so sleep can stay deep and uninterrupted. This coordination is not accidental. It is a carefully timed process controlled by hormones, nerve signals, and circadian rhythms working together. When this system functions properly, most people can sleep 6 to 8 hours without needing to urinate. When nighttime bathroom trips begin, it usually means one or more parts of that system are being disrupted. In some cases, the kidneys are producing too much urine after bedtime. In others, the bladder has become more sensitive and sends urgency signals earlier than it should. For many people, the issue is not volume at all. It is the nervous system waking the brain too easily in response to mild pressure. These are functional changes, not inevitable decline. Another common misconception is that nocturia is always a bladder problem. In reality, it is often a timing problem. The body may still be processing fluids, sodium, or sugar from earlier in the day. Hormonal signals that normally concentrate urine at night may be blunted. Stress hormones can keep the nervous system alert, making even small bladder signals feel urgent. None of these issues originate from age alone. It is also important to understand that frequent nighttime urination does not mean something is broken. It means feedback loops are out of sync. The good news is that feedback loops are adaptable. When the body receives the right signals, especially in the hours before sleep, it can restore a quieter nighttime pattern surprisingly quickly. At the Health Detective, we focus on restoring function rather than accepting symptoms. Nighttime urination is your body communicating that something in your daily rhythm needs adjustment. Once you understand which signals are being missed or misfired, you can begin correcting them, often without medication, and often starting the very same night. Many people are convinced that they stopped drinking early enough, yet they still wake up multiple times during the night to urinate. From the health detective standpoint, this usually means the bladder is not reacting to what you drank before bed. It is reacting to what you did hours earlier. The body processes fluids, salt, sugar, and stimulants on a delayed schedule, and that delay is where nighttime problems begin. One of the biggest contributors is fluid timing. Drinking large amounts of liquid in the late afternoon or early evening often feels harmless because there is a long gap before sleep. But the kidneys do not process fluid instantly. It can take several hours for that intake to be filtered and converted into urine. By the time you fall asleep, the kidneys may just be reaching peak output. The bladder fills while you are resting, and urgency builds silently until it breaks through sleep. Hidden stimulants also play a role. Caffeine does not only come from coffee. Tea, chocolate, sodas, energy drinks, and even some medications can stimulate urine production and irritate the bladder lining. Alcohol compounds the problem by suppressing antidiuretic hormone, which normally tells the kidneys to conserve fluid at night. Even a single evening drink can double nighttime urine output for several hours afterward. Diet matters as well. High-sodium meals in the evening cause fluid retention earlier, followed by fluid release later, often after you are already in bed. Sugar has a similar effect by pulling water into the bloodstream, increasing filtration through the kidneys during sleep. These foods do not cause immediate urgency, which is why they are rarely blamed, but their impact shows up at night. Posture and movement are often overlooked. Sitting for long periods during the day allows fluid to pool in the legs. When you lie down at night, that fluid redistributes into the bloodstream and gets processed by the kidneys. The result is a sudden surge in urine production after bedtime, even if you barely drank anything in the evening. At the Health Detective, we emphasize awareness over restriction. Nighttime urination is rarely caused by one bad habit. It is usually the result of small, well-intended choices stacking up across the day. When you understand how those choices affect nighttime physiology, you gain the ability to interrupt the pattern, not by drinking less, but by drinking and eating at smarter times. One of the most important and least discussed factors in nighttime urination is a hormone most people have never heard of. From the health detective perspective, understanding this hormone often explains why someone can do everything right and still wake up to pee. That hormone is antidiuretic hormone, commonly called ADH. A DH's job is simple but powerful. As evening approaches, the brain signals the release of ADH to tell the kidneys to conserve water. Instead of producing large volumes of dilute urine, the kidneys concentrate urine and slow output. This is what allows the bladder to stay relatively empty overnight and lets sleep remain uninterrupted. In a healthy rhythm, ADH rises after sunset and stays elevated through the night. Problems begin when this hormonal rhythm is disrupted. Stress is one of the strongest suppressors of ADH. When the nervous system stays in a state of alertness, the body prioritizes readiness over rest. Cortisol rises. A DH drops. The kidneys shift into daytime mode, continuing to produce urine as if you were awake and active. This can happen even when fluid intake is low. Light exposure plays a surprisingly large role. Bright indoor lighting, television screens, and phone use late at night interfere with the brain's perception of darkness. When the brain does not sense true nighttime, it delays or reduces ADH release. The kidneys receive mixed signals and fail to slow urine production. This is one reason why nighttime urination often worsens in people who scroll or watch television right up until bed. Sleep timing matters as well. Going to bed too late or sleeping irregular hours disrupts circadian signaling. A DH relies on a consistent sleep-wake pattern. When that rhythm becomes unstable, hormone release becomes inconsistent. Some nights may be quiet, others may involve repeated awakenings with no obvious explanation. Aging does affect ADH, but not in the way many people assume. The hormone does not disappear, it becomes more sensitive to disruption. This means small stressors, light exposure, or schedule changes have a bigger impact than they did earlier in life. The solution is not resignation, it is reinforcement. At the Health Detective, we focus on restoring nighttime signals rather than forcing the bladder to behave. When ADH is supported through calmer evenings, reduced light exposure, and consistent sleep timing, nighttime urine production often drops naturally, sometimes within days. The body already knows how to stay asleep. It just needs the right conditions to do so again. Even when urine production is not excessive, many people still wake up with a strong urge to go. From the Health Detective standpoint, this points to a different mechanism entirely, the nervous system. At night, your bladder and brain are supposed to work together quietly. The bladder fills gradually, stretches without protest, and sends only minimal signals. The brain, in turn, filters out those signals so sleep can remain deep. When this balance is lost, urgency can appear even when the bladder is far from full. The bladder is lined with sensory receptors that detect pressure and stretch. These receptors are not purely mechanical. They are influenced by the nervous system's overall state. When the nervous system is calm, the bladder tolerates filling. When the nervous system is alert or overstimulated, those same receptors become hypersensitive. Mild filling feels urgent. Normal pressure feels uncomfortable. The signal reaches the brain more easily, and wakes you up. Stress plays a central role. Mental tension, unresolved worry, and even low-level anxiety keep the body in a state of vigilance. At night, instead of downshifting into recovery mode, the nervous system stays partially on. This makes the brain more responsive to internal sensations, including bladder signals that would normally be ignored. The result is waking up with the impression that urination is necessary immediately. Sleep fragmentation makes the problem worse. Each time sleep is interrupted, the brain becomes more likely to notice bodily sensations. Light sleep increases awareness of bladder pressure. This creates a loop. You wake slightly, notice your bladder, get up to urinate, and then struggle to return to deeper sleep. Over time, the brain begins to associate nighttime awakenings with bathroom trips, reinforcing the pattern. Inflammation and irritation can amplify this sensitivity. Certain foods, beverages, and medications irritate the bladder lining, lowering its threshold for signaling. But even without irritation, a sensitized nervous system alone can create urgency. This is why some people wake up, urinate small amounts, and still feel disrupted. At the Health Detective, we emphasize calming the system rather than forcing control. The bladder does not operate independently. It responds to the tone of the nervous system. When that tone is soothed before bed, through routine, reduced stimulation, and mental decompression, urgency signals often diminish. Restoring this balance helps the bladder regain its natural ability to wait quietly until morning, without constant interruption. The most effective way to reduce nighttime urination is not a single trick or restriction. From the Health Detective approach, it is about sending the right signals to the body in the final hours before sleep. When those signals are consistent, the kidneys slow down, the bladder relaxes, and the nervous system shifts into recovery mode. This is what allows nighttime urges to fade instead of escalate. The first step is timing, not deprivation. Instead of cutting fluids aggressively, front-load hydration earlier in the day. Drinking steadily from morning through mid-afternoon allows the kidneys to complete most of their filtering work before evening. As bedtime approaches, fluid intake naturally tapers. This gives the bladder a head start on staying calm overnight without triggering dehydration. Next is reducing evening stimulation. Bright light, intense conversation, news consumption, and screen use all keep the nervous system alert. Even if you feel relaxed mentally, the body may still be receiving signals that it is daytime. Dimming lights 1 to 2 hours before bed and reducing screen exposure helps the brain release sleep-supporting hormones, including those that regulate urine production. Gentle movement also plays a role. Light walking, stretching, or leg elevation in the early evening helps redistribute fluid that pooled in the legs during the day. When this fluid returns to circulation earlier, the kidneys process it before sleep rather than after you lie down. This simple shift can significantly reduce nighttime urine volume. Temperature and breathing matter as well. A slightly cooler sleep environment supports deeper sleep and calmer nervous system activity. Slow, deliberate breathing before bed reduces stress hormone output and lowers sensory sensitivity, including bladder signaling. This makes the brain less reactive to minor internal sensations. Consistency is what turns these steps into results. The body learns patterns quickly. When the same calming routine happens night after night, the nervous system anticipates rest. Hormonal timing improves, bladder sensitivity decreases, nighttime awakenings become less frequent and less urgent. At the Health Detective, we focus on restoring confidence in your body's natural rhythms. Nighttime urination is not something you have to fight, it is something you can guide. When the body receives clear signals that night is for rest, not activity, it often responds faster than expected, sometimes starting the very first night. The final piece of reducing nighttime urination is knowing what to do immediately and knowing when it is time to look deeper. From the Health Detective perspective, empowerment comes from clarity. Most people benefit from simple adjustments, but it is equally important to recognize when symptoms signal something that should not be ignored. For tonight, the goal is not perfection, it is alignment. Finish larger meals earlier in the evening to give digestion time to settle. Keep fluids light and intentional in the final 2 hours before bed, focusing on small sips rather than full glasses. Dim lights, reduce screen exposure, and create a predictable wind-down routine that signals the brain that sleep is approaching. Empty your bladder calmly before bed, not forcefully or repeatedly, and then allow your body to rest without anticipation or worry. If you wake during the night, avoid clock watching. The brain associates time awareness with alertness. Move slowly, keep lights low, and return to bed without mental stimulation. Over time, this retrains the nervous system to treat nighttime awakenings as non-events, rather than emergencies. That said, some patterns deserve medical attention. Waking multiple times every night to urinate large volumes of urine may indicate issues with blood sugar regulation, sleep apnea, kidney function, or hormonal imbalance. Burning pain or sudden urgency can signal infection or inflammation. Difficulty starting urination, weak flow, or incomplete emptying may point to prostate or pelvic floor concerns. These are not reasons for fear, but they are reasons for evaluation. At The Health Detective, we emphasize that symptoms are messages, not verdicts. When the body speaks consistently, it deserves to be heard and understood. Addressing underlying causes early often prevents larger issues later. Outro. Nighttime urination does not have to control your sleep or your confidence. Your body is capable of deep, uninterrupted rest when it receives the right signals. Start with the steps you can take tonight, observe how your body responds, and give it time to recalibrate. If this breakdown helped you understand your body better, stay with us for more clear, practical guidance and share your experience in the comments so others know they're not alone.